3 bone-chilling true deep woods horrors that haunt you forever at midnight. The deep woods, they say, hide the screams of souls long lost. At midnight, the terror is palpable. Trees twist impossibly against the night sky, their gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal hands eager to pull you in. Folklore whispers of eyewitness accounts, heart-pounding tales that grip you tight, leaving a cold dread in your stomach. Imagine the whistle of the wind morphing into agonized wails, drawing you deeper into the shadowy abyss. Stories of those who ventured into the thicket only to vanish echo through towns, chilling the bones of anyone who hears them. One such mystery is the tale of the Hollow Man, a figure cloaked in darkness, rumored to wander under the black veil of night. His footsteps are silent, his presence felt like a creeping fog. People say he lingers at the heart of the forest, waiting for the strangest of time, midnight. Some claim he was once a man loved, betrayed by those dearest, and now he drags his sorrow through the trees, stealing souls for company. Just the thought of him can tighten your chest, leaving a lump in your throat and sweat trickling down your spine. The kind of fear that grips you so tightly, you can hardly breathe. Then there's the flickering light, an eerie glow seen from far away, dancing among the trunks like a teasing flame. But anyone who approaches it quickly learns a ghastly truth. The light isn't a beacon. Instead, it's said to beckon wayward travelers to their doom. Those who get too close often return changed, their eyes void of hope, speaking of voices that plagued their dreams and shadows that whispered their secrets. Right before your heart skips a beat, you hear it, the rustling, the murmurs of the woods that seem to grow louder, filled with the murmurs of those who never made it back. It's why the locals avoid these woods, sharing these stories as stern warnings. As the chilling tales heap like cold snow on a winter's night, one must wonder, what truly lurks in the midnight depths? What horrors await the unsuspecting adventurer willing to challenge the tales? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The clock strikes 12, a grim reminder that the woods come alive at this cursed hour. A rustling sound emerges from the trees, and the air grows thick with tension. You can almost hear heartbeats entwined with whispers, the promise of secrets waiting to be uncovered. But could you survive what happens next? Are you brave enough to walk those dimly lit paths with shadows lurking? The woods are watching, and they hunger for more. The wind picked up, sharp and frigid, as though it harbored the cries of anguish from the depths of the woods. It clawed at the back of Sarah's neck as she stood, frozen in place. The stories had always piqued her curiosity, but standing there at the brink of shadow and silence, she wondered if she had ventured too far into madness. Her heart thudded against her ribcage, each beat a mantra that echoed the warning she'd heard so many times. Don't go in after dark. But here she was, enticed by the very darkness that had drawn countless others into its embrace. She swallowed hard, the lump growing thicker. The flickering light in the distance danced like a devilish spark, taunting her to draw nearer. It swayed gently, mocking her hesitance, as shadows swirled around her feet. Was it real? She was both terrified and mesmerized. Suddenly, there came a noise, faint at first, like a whisper carried on the wind. It resonated deep within her, and she strained to listen. The sound morphed a low moan, an unearthly lament that seemed to crawl beneath her skin. She shook her head, trying to shake off the feeling that the very trees were leaning in, listening, waiting for her to take another step. The flickering light grew brighter, and she felt compelled to move. Just as she decided to move towards it, a chilling thought washed over her. Could the Hollow Man be near? She recalled the tales, the way he collected the souls of the naive. Were those lost souls the ones whispering her name? Sarah, it called, persistent and haunting, wrapping around her consciousness. She felt her feet shift, the pull of something beyond reason beckoning. It took all her strength to resist. Yet, This was not only an illusion. She could feel the ground beneath her trembling with energy, a promise of something waiting just beyond the reach of sight. She hesitated, caught between fiery curiosity and raw instinct. Can fear carry you home, or will it lead you foolishly deeper? With every ounce of willpower, she closed her eyes, forcing herself to listen for the creeping sound of danger. Those muffled words of caution she received flooded back into her mind, and she took a breath filled with resolve. Just turn around, just go back. But as she opened her eyes, she caught a glimpse of movement, a silhouette darting between trees. Panic clawed its way up her throat. Was it the Hollow Man? Or just a figment born of her mind, tired from the weight of dread? Her heart raced, and she fought against it. The light danced wilder now, flickering like a candle caught in a storm. Compelled, she took a cautious step forward. Something deep inside her urged her to follow. A sudden crack broke the tension, a branch snapping, sharp and sudden, sending Sarah's breath hitching in her throat. She spun, her eyes scanning the darkness desperately. The rustling grew louder, almost harmonious against the backdrop of her thundering heart. Then there were voices, childlike and innocuous, yet twisted by despair. They floated through the air, distorted yet eerily familiar. Help us, stay with us. Her hands trembled as the hairs on her neck stood up. They were calling to her, endless echoes of the lost. No, she shouted, the panic spilling over as she turned and ran. The darkness pressed against her, the weight of the whispers melding with her frantic breathing. But in her flight, she felt something cold wrapping around her ankle, a vine. No, a hand. In her struggle, Sarah heard a voice clear and defined, cutting through the turmoil of sounds around her. Help us before midnight's end. With her heart scrambling against her ribs, she managed one last desperate glance at the flickering light, now dimming as though a curtain was being drawn. What was the choice before her? The woods held secrets that twisted and turned, and she was caught in their grip, just as midnight merged with the void around her. But who would she save? Those lost calling for her, or herself? In that eerie silence, a final scream echoed through the darkness, leaving her breathless and terrified. And then it went quiet. The woods awaited her decision. What would it cost her to uncover the truth? The stillness hung in the air like a thick fog, suffocating and heavy. Sarah felt the grasp around her ankle tighten, pulling her down into a chill that seeped into her bones. Panic surged anew, and she fought against the grip, but it was relentless. Her breaths came in frantic bursts, echoing off the dark trunks of the trees as shadows danced around her. Help us, before midnight's end. The voice was clearer now, dripping with urgency that sent icy fingers of dread creeping down her spine. She shook her head violently, forcing her mind to clear. Those weren't just whispers, they were pleas, desperate and aching. Were these the remnants of souls lost to the woods? She remembered the townsfolk, their hollow eyes as they spoke of the Hollow Man, a collector of regrets and fears, how they too had once felt his cold embrace. Stay with us, the whispers intensified, vibrating within her skull, and she felt that horrible pull again, like a siren luring a wayward ship into rocky waters. Her heart raced as she kicked her leg, finally breaking free from the unseen grasp. Stumbling back, she could hear the rustling leaves mutter her name louder now. Each syllable resonated, awakening dread buried deep inside her. The light up ahead was fading fast, growing dimmer as if it were a heartbeat slowing. No, she gasped, the word escaping her lips in a desperate plea, her instinct blazing like a fire within her. She wouldn't be another victim. Just then, a shadow flickered at the edge of her vision. Sarah whirled around, adrenaline coursing through her. Who's there? Her voice echoed defiantly in the darkness, but it came out shaky, betraying the churn of terror inside. That a small figure appeared briefly, darting between the trees barefoot, hair tangled and wild. It wore tattered clothes that barely shielded it from the forest's chill. A child. Sarah's heart wrenched as instinct kicked in. Could this child be lost? Was she real, or another figment of the madness surrounding her? Please, the figure called, voice trembling with fear as if drowning in the shadows. Help us, wait, Sarah shouted, the forest closing in around her, branches reaching like grasping fingers. Where are you? But the child was gone, swallowed by the night and the whispers. Another crack sounded, and she spun again, feeling the forest's breath against her neck. This wasn't right. It was as if the woods had a mind of their own, bending and shaping into whatever it desired. The air thickened, wrapping around Sarah, and she clutched her chest, feeling the weight of dread pressing down. Searing pain shot through her a memory of all the things she had running in her mind, the warnings, the stories. Could she trust anything here? What if there really was no escape? Help us. The voices called again, multiple now, layering over one another like a shattered chorus resonating in her ears. Sarah's vision blurred as she shook her head, trying to drown them out. She took off running where the path dipped into a darker passage. She could feel the fear burning at her heels, the temperature dropping sharply. And still, every breath she took felt like a countdown. She was racing against time, the manifestation of midnight's dreadful promise. With every step, she sank deeper into the heart of shadow, the trees closing in around her like a suffocating embrace. What lurked behind them? Would it be the hollow man or the lost souls demanding her loyalty? Suddenly, she saw the light flicker to life again, brighter this time. It wasn't just a flicker, but a beacon, calling her. Her legs urged her forward, into its reach, as if salvation lay there instead of peril. But as she drew near, she could hear the echoing cries converge into a wailing symphony of despair. Sarah, don't leave us. With her heart pounding harder than ever, she faced a truth more horrifying than anything. Who was she to choose when faced with so many souls? The forest whispered its dark secrets, and the light dimmed once more, making the darkness grow more sinister. She could feel the clock ticking down to midnight, a countdown toward a decision that felt more like a curse than a blessing. Could she uncover what it all meant before time ran out? The road ahead twisted further into obscurity, a terrifying unknown clinging to every second. With a sharp intake of breath, Sarah stepped closer to the chaotic light, resolving to find out who she would truly become in the face of such evil. But just as she reached for it, she felt a hand cold and powerful wrap around her wrist. Save us, or sacrifice yourself. The darkness closed in around her, leaving her to question which path was the right one and how much it would cost her to break free. The grip tightened around Sarah's wrist, icy and unyielding. It felt like the hand of death itself, anchoring her to the shadows. The whispers crescendoed, an agonizing harmony that cut through her. Save us or sacrifice yourself echoed in her mind, leaving no room for escape. In the flicker of the chaotic light, she glanced down. Eyes real, desperate, and full of fear stared back at her. The presence was not just a grip. It was a plea for help, a soul trapped in darkness. She shuddered, feeling her resolve wavering. What did it mean to save, and at what cost? Please. A chorus of voices cried, a mix of anguish and terror. The air thickened with their collective pain, almost tangibly oppressive, urging her to choose. She felt the weight of lives teetering in a precarious balance. Could she really stand against the darkness that threatened to swallow her whole? Let me go, she shouted, but her voice reached no one. The trees loomed taller, their gnarled branches twisting into grotesque shapes, hiding secrets beneath their bark. Sarah kicked at the roots littering the ground, trying to free herself, but the grip held steady, pulling her deeper into the night. What do I have to do? She sobbed, feeling tears spill down her cheeks. The light flickered, a heartbeat that faded with every second. What would happen when it went out? Find the heart, a voice whispered softly, cutting through the noise. One voice amid the chaos. Before midnight ends, where's the heart? She pleaded into the abyss, grabbing onto the hope of clarity. The grip released slightly, as if catching its breath. Tell me. Follow the shadows, it advised, the urgency palpable. The darkness seemed to shift, revealing a faint path leading away from the light. It was a dangerous gamble, but what choice remained? Stay and potentially lose herself, or take the risk for salvation? Okay, Sarah breathed, the chill racing down her spine. She pulled her wrist free and stumbled backward into the path, desperately squinting into the shadows that wrapped around her. Was the heart near? Time was running out, each second echoing as the night grew darker. The shadows pulsated around her, strange shapes reaching out, murmuring her name in a soft, haunting melody. They beckoned her closer, drawing her deeper into the woods. She followed, heart racing, adrenaline pumping through her veins. Each whisper felt like a warning and a guide simultaneously. Then she saw it. A glowing orb pulsating in the distance, its light beckoning like a beacon of lost hope. The heart, she whispered, taking cautious, deliberate steps forward. With each stride, the air grew warmer, the oppressive cold lifting slightly, but the shadows didn't fade. They twisted and writhed, becoming figures with faces that shifted and morphed. The sorrowful faces of the lost peered at her with pleading eyes, desperate for her attention. "Save us," they cried again, renewing the symphony of despair. "Why should I save any of you?" she shouted, fear blending with anger. Each face seemed to carry a story, a regret she could never fully understand. "What have you done?" The figures hesitated, the murmuring fading into unsettling silence. She was forced to confront what lay before her, shadows of guilt, and ask, what was this evil that bound them? With determination, she pressed on toward the light, her pulse hammering in her throat. The orb flickered, responding to her presence, illuminating the twisted paths around her. Her hand outstretched, driven by an instinct she couldn't quite grasp. Just a little more, she panted. But then, a figure lunged from the dark, a gaunt, hollowed face, eyes like black holes, its mouth twisted in an agonizing scream that resonated through her very soul. "No, you can't choose," it howled, reaching for her, fingers stretching like claws. Just before she could react, the world around her erupted into chaos. The shadows lunged, desperate hands reaching out as tendrils of darkness wrapped around her ankles, pulling her back toward the nightmare she sought to escape. Fighting against the onslaught, Sarah felt herself teeter on the brink of consciousness, the glowing heart straining to pull her back toward its light. Would she remain in the night, forever haunted by the despair of the souls trapped inside? Or could she muster the strength to break free and embrace the light, the only beacon of hope? Time was running out. With midnight fast approaching, she grappled with her choice, knowing that any moment could seal her fate. What lay ahead was unknown, but the fight wasn't over yet. As she struggled to break free, a final chilling whisper echoed in the trees. "Escape, the price paid will never be the same." The shadows jerked violently, dragging Sarah deeper into the veil of darkness. Panic flooded her veins, and in the back of her mind, a frantic rhythm began to pulse her heart, racing dangerously fast. She thrashed, clawing at the air. The orb flickered tantalizingly close, but it felt miles away, slipping through her grasp. "Let me go, please," she cried, her voice cracking with raw desperation as fingers like icy vines wrapped around her legs, tightening with each futile struggle. The faces of the lost loomed around her, their features softening just long enough for her to feel the weight of their suffering pressing down on her shoulders. "Why are you doing this? One must pay," the gaunt figure shouted, its hollow eyes glinting with a horrific mixture of anguish and malice. "To choose to save one means to sacrifice another." "Sacrifice? Who? What are you talking about?" A lump formed in her throat, panic spiraling into a sickening fear. Would saving one of these tortured souls mean sealing another's fate? The thought twisted like a knife in her heart. Suddenly, the cries grew louder, drowning out the beating of her heart. "We cannot wait until midnight." Their voices melded into a cacophony, echoing off the trees around her, wrapping her in a net of despair. "Make your choice." The glowing heart pulsed invitingly. It was the beacon of hope she desperately needed, but the cost loomed overhead like a storm cloud. She swung her arms, desperately disconnecting from the binding grip of the despairing souls, forcing herself to move towards the pulsating orb. Her feet broke free, and she stumbled forward, the light illuminating her face. Just a little closer, she thought, feeling not just warmth, but hope begin to flourish. However, the gaunt figure rose again, dark as a shadow against the light, eyes boring into her with an intensity that drained her resolve. "You cannot escape what has been done. The darkness will consume you all." A low rumble vibrated through the ground as the darkness surged, absorbing the light and sending waves of panic racing back through her body. She needed to choose now. Who will you save? The tortured voices sang in haunting harmony. Each name echoed in her mind, faces she hadn't even seen, lives bound to this malevolence. "Will you sacrifice us to save your skin? What if I choose the heart?" She blurted out, desperation shaping her voice. What if I choose the hope represented by that light? The shadows jerked back, as if struck by a force unseen, revealing a glimpse of the orb's brilliance. In a heartbeat, she made her decision, grasping onto her remaining courage. With every ounce of strength, she buried her hand in the light's glow, ready to sever the ties that shackled her to that wretched darkness. But the gaunt figure lunged once more, its claws winding around her throat. "You cannot just abandon us." A shudder swept through her, visions of their faces swirling into her mind. The weight of their despair felt like chains dragging her down. "No, I want to leave you," she screamed, grappling with the gnarled fingers around her, as if trying to untangle the very fabric of their pain. Their anguish tore at her heart like barbed wire. But she had to choose. One soul or all. One life or another life lost. As Sarah struggled, she felt something shift inside her, a resolve forming as sharp as glass. "If I can burn away the darkness, I have to try?" Her voice rang out, echoing defiantly against the malevolence looming just behind her. With one final heave, she pulled herself toward the heart. Would it really grant her the power to save them all? In that moment, she thought of the shadows, a swirling mass of lost lives. While a flicker of light enkindled hope within her very core, the orb pulsed one last time, and she could sense the choice before her: life or death, salvation or sacrifice. But the shadows shrieked in fury, lashes of darkness whipping out from every direction. "Your decision," they thundered, voices mingling in a frenzied whirlwind of agony. "It's time to face the truth." The orb flickered violently as if warning her, and an icy chill rippled through the air, stinging her skin. The hourglass held in her heart spilled onto the ground, time trickling away with every second. Midnight was approaching. Would she choose the light, risking all for a sliver of hope? Or would she succumb to despair, entangled in the darkness forever? As she prepared to make her fateful choice, she felt the ground shudder beneath her feet, the weight of the world pressing in. The shadows whispered, "What will your sacrifice be?" The question hung in the air, heavy and ominous like a shroud waiting to fall. The moment hung between despair and hope, a fragile thread stretched taut over the void. Sarah's breath caught, mingling with the damp air, each inhalation steeped in dread. "Make your choice." The shadows wailed again, pulling her in every direction. She could feel their anguish, a tide of souls caught in a tempest they couldn't escape. Just when she thought she must break, must yield to the darkness, the orb flared brighter, illuminating her face in a ghostly glow. The warmth enveloped her, a soft whisper against the onslaught of icy fingers. "Please," she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. "I can't do this alone." The light sent waves formless over her, stirring something deep inside. Suddenly, the gaunt figure loomed closer, its breath like the chill of death on her neck. "You think the light is your savior? It will abandon you the moment true sacrifice is called for." Its jagged teeth grinned, while forming in her throat. "Stop," Sarah shouted, her voice cracking under the stress of conflicting emotions. "I want to let you win." She could feel the orb pulse like a heartbeat, a call to arms. And then, clarity hit her with the force of a freight train. "To save many, I must be willing to lose my own." The thought thundered in her mind. Wasn't that what love was? With a might she didn't know she possessed, she ripped her hand from its grip and raised it toward the pulsating light. "I choose the heart," she declared, her voice filling the space with conviction. The shadows howled, the sound clawing at her ears, screeching contempt mixed with disbelief. The orb shifted, its brilliance blinding as if awakening from a long, suffocating sleep. She felt something like warmth at her center, a burgeoning flame igniting her courage. She could feel the hesitation, the pull of despair dusting her heels, but she wouldn't back down. Then prepare for the reckoning. The gaunt figure shrieked in fury as the shadows thickened, swirling with chaos, their anger born of betrayal wrapped in sorrow. In that instant, Sarah summoned all her strength and stepped into the light, fully embracing its radiance. A blast of energy erupted, waves of light cascading outwards, washing over the shadows. They recoiled, screaming, faces contorting in agony. "No," they cried, voices pained and desperate. "You can't do this. We'll ruin you for your choice." Yet, the light surged, filling the very air with an essence that felt alive, as if the souls caught in darkness were reaching out for liberation. Time slowed as their fear battled against her newfound defiance. She could feel them, those lost souls who had cried out for help and now were drawn to her light. Sarah concentrated, focusing on their faces, willing to give everything she had to break the chains binding them. With a final pulse of the heart, the shadows roared in their fury, but it was too late. The light enveloped everything, illuminating every corner of the darkness in a divine explosion of joy and pain. But within that radiant burst, she felt a sudden sharp pull against her heart, an unsettling twist of fate, a swirling pain that felt almost familiar. The weight of it crashed over her. No, she gasped, but the warmth began to falter, retreating like mist chased by the dawn. As the chaos settled and darkness flickered at the edges, a shocking realization rooted itself in her mind. It wasn't just sacrifice for the light. It was a sacrifice of self that would alter everything. Her soul would belong to this place, bound forever to those she sought to save. In the aftermath, shadows whispered sinister secrets in the twilight. "You've made your choice," they crooned, their voices clearer, sharper. But at what cost? Sarah stared into the remaining darkness, breath caught in her chest. What have I done? The shadows coiled tighter, and she felt the presence of the lost souls surging back, their cries dimmer but persistent. Her heartbeat quickened as a single name emerged from the darkness, echoing with haunting finality. "Sarah, you cannot escape." As midnight struck and the last remnants of light flickered out, she faced the shadows anew, understanding dawning like thunder in her mind. The horror wasn't just surviving the dark anymore. It was the price of her decision and the choice she still needed to confront. What lay ahead twisted her heart with fear and reluctant anticipation. Would she unleash more darkness within herself to fight what was to come, or would she finally embrace the truth of her sacrifice? In that moment, the weight of existence pulsed around her as the shadows coiled closer, the air thick with foreboding. Would she uncover the truth of those she attempted to save, or would she be lost forever in the shadows that sought to consume her? The darkness wrapped around Sarah like a suffocating shroud, pressing in on all sides. She felt the heartbeat of the orb resonating with her own, a haunting reminder of the choice she had made. The whispers grew louder, echoing her name, weaving through her thoughts like a web of despair. "Sarah, you cannot escape." Each word fell heavy on her chest, a constant reminder that she was now part of this cursed realm. Fear prickled at her skin, a sharp chill slicing through the veil of her courage. What had truly happened? The light had felt so liberating, so full of potential. But now, with the echoes of the lost souls reverberating in her ears, she gripped the fragile thread of hope tightly, the tendrils of panic creeping into her mind. She turned toward the shadows, their forms shifting and writhing, a tapestry of sorrow and vengeance. "You want to take me?" she shouted, though her resolve flickered. Deep down, dread clawed at her insides, turning it into a battle of beliefs. Could the light still protect her? Or had she sealed her fate with a curse? The shadows twisted, forming shapes now more defined, faces of those who had been lost. Familiar features stared back at her, filled with torment. "You betrayed us," one wailed, their voice shrill and laced with betrayal. "You chose the heart over us." "No," Sarah cried, stepping back instinctively, her heart racing. "I chose to save others. I had to." But her protest fell flat, swallowed by the encroaching darkness, their demonic laughter ringing in her ears like sharp knives. With fear coursing through her, she felt the orb flicker uncertainly, the remnants of light struggling against the weight of despair. She knew she had to focus. "I can't stay like this," she breathed, glancing around for something, anything that might give her direction. A memory flashed, a face appearing briefly above the whirlpool of shadows. It was her mother. The warmth of their shared laughter wrapped around her soul, conflicting with the anguish surrounding her now. "Help me," she whispered, her voice cracking as she called upon that love which had once been so pure that a pulse resonated from the depths of the darkness, shaking her to the core. The shadows stilled momentarily, their feral rage momentarily quelled by the essence of her memory. "What is it you truly want?" A silky voice emerged, smooth like honey yet laden with malice. "I want them free," she shouted, surprising herself with the strength in her voice. I want to be free. The shadows shuddered, their laughter fading to a low growl, testing her resolve. But freedom comes at a price. Blood must be shed. The shadows danced, enticing her with whispers of power, temptation wrapping around her like a dark fog. She hesitated, the weight of their words heavy in the air, their intentions spiraling in her mind. Could she give more? Was sacrifice enough? The names of her lost friends and loved ones echoed such pain, such memory. Their gazes bore into her, filling her with urgency. Before she could gather herself, the gaunt figure materialized again, towering over her. Your will is weak, come now. Embrace the darkness. Draw upon the sorrow. It will make you powerful beyond measure. No, she screamed, a rush of defiance coursing through her. Her heart ached as she fought against the darkness clawing at her mind. That in defiance, Sarah began to draw on the light within, pushing against the darkness. With grit, she focused on the orb, the pulse surging brighter as her determination grew. She would not let despair win. But the shadows lurked closer, ready to snuff out her flicker of hope. With the surge of energy, she realized the truth. She wasn't just fighting for herself, but for all the souls who had suffered here. What would it take to release them? Enough, she bellowed, her voice fierce and unforgiving, pushed by a weight of desperate conviction. But deep down, she understood that the shadows were only the beginning. Are you ready to pay the price? They hissed, their chilling words hanging in the air. The moment hung, teetering on the edge of chaos and clarity. Sarah's heart raced, knowing that whatever decision she made next would be the pivotal moment in this battle. What would the shadows demand? And at what deeper cost would her desperate fight for freedom come? The next moment faded into another uncertainty. A true reckoning was right around the corner. The shadows trembled, looming over Sarah like vultures scenting the air. She felt their hunger, their desperate need for something she was terrified to offer. Her heart pounded in her chest as she confronted the gaunt figure once more, its hollow eyes piercing through her. Would she bend to their will? Was it even possible to tip the scales back toward light? Choose, Sarah. It hissed, its voice twisting like a serpent. Embrace the darkness, shed your shackles, or remain forever chained to sorrow. The ground beneath her felt unstable, as if it teetered on the brink of collapse. The shiver ran down her spine. What if freedom meant sacrificing others? The thought snaked through her mind, knotting her stomach. She could already feel the weight of choices pressing down on her. Your friends, the shadows whispered. They wait for you, Sarah. Will you leave them to suffer? Or will you do what must be done? Each word sliced through the air, causing her to gasp with fear. She imagined them lost, tethered in this hellish place, drifting in perpetual anguish. No, she cried out, shaking her head violently. Not like this. But even as she shouted, uncertainty wormed its way into her heart. She could feel the orb in her hands, the pulsing beat matching her panicked heartbeat. It flickered, teetering between dark and light, hunger and solace. She clutched it tighter, praying for the light to guide her through. In that moment, a figure emerged from the shadows, a silhouette so familiar it took her breath away. Sarah, the voice was soft, like a gentle breeze through the chaos. It was her mother, her features hazy but unmistakable. The warmth radiating from her swirled amid the darkness, igniting a flicker of hope. Mom, Sarah gasped, her heart swelling briefly with love. You're here. Far from you, my dear, the shadowy form said, her face wavering like a dying flame. Do not fear what must happen next. Choose wisely, my child. Remember love. The shadows hissed in rage, their wails mixing with the affectionate tone of her mother. Foolish girl, you think love will save you? Their laughter roared through the air, a sound so chilling it made her bones shudder. But her mother's presence kept her anchored. Fight, Sarah. Fight with everything you have. The words wrapped around her, a lifeline pulling her from despair. I will, she shouted, finding a renewed fire within herself. The orb in her hands ignited, blasting a golden light that pushed back against the encroaching darkness. She felt strength radiate through her veins as the shadows reeled away, momentarily blinded. See, the gaunt figure recoiled, its face twisting with rage. This is not your world, Sarah. You cannot win. I'm not here to win. She roared, her voice full of determination. I'm here to save them. She looked back toward the flickering faces of the lost souls, their features etched in despair. You will not keep them. With that, she drew upon every ounce of light, the orb glowing fiercely as she fought to break the chains binding the souls. But with every surge of power, the shadows tightened their grip. Sacrifice. You want them free? Then sacrifice what you love most. They shrieked, their voices a cacophony of chaos, clawing at her mind. Sarah hesitated, terror settling over her shoulders like a heavy cloak. What did they mean? What was she willing to sacrifice? The orb pulsed violently, the energies clashing, light and dark battling savagely. She felt herself slipping, losing focus amid the tempest of emotion. Her heart raced, adrenaline surging as she realized the inevitable choice that loomed over her. Choose. The shadows roared again. In that moment, all stretched taut, ready to break. What would she pay to save her friends? Could she face the cost of her choice? The final thread of her resolve frayed as the smoke curled around her, whispering promises and threats alike. The shadows were tightening their hold, eager to claim her, and in that moment of visceral, raw fear, Sarah understood her time was running out. What lay on the other side of her choice? What would happen if she drew the line of sacrifice? Could she bear to take that leap? The shadows danced dangerously close, hungry for her decision. The weight of despair threatened to pull her down. Sarah felt the flicker of hope still alive within her. But hope alone might not be enough. What was she willing to risk? What was she willing to lose? The answer danced just out of reach, and she knew she had to act fast. But deep down, she wondered if there was truly any escape at all. The shadows lurked closer, their jagged whispers filling Sarah's ears. It felt like an icy wind had wrapped around her heart, squeezing tight. She had to decide now. The pressure of the orb in her hands surged with electric tension as its light dimmed, fluctuating between despair and brilliance. Your friends, they are counting on you. The gaunt figure's voice trembled with a mixture of mockery and desperation, its eyes burning holes through her resolve. But at what cost? Her mind raced. Images of her friends flashed before her: Jake, Emma, and Lucas, each a ghost wrapped in anguish, reaching for her with pleading eyes. No, I want to leave them, she shouted, her voice breaking the clutches of darkness that threatened to swallow her whole. Suddenly, the orb pulsed violently, sending a wave of heat surging up her arms. I'm not here just for me. I'm here for them. At that moment, clarity pierced the veil of uncertainty. She was willing to fight the shadows, but not without the cost biting at her heels. Sacrifice, Sarah. Sacrifice. They chanted, their voices merging into a monstrous howl. Embrace the dark, and you shall gain the power to liberate them. The ground trembled beneath her, fissures splitting as the shadows writhed, elongating and shrinking, like the breath of a slumbering beast stirring. Sarah's heart pounded frantically. What did they want? Could giving in mean embracing the very darkness she fought against? Mom, she whispered, desperately seeking the love that had guided her. What do I choose? But the apparition was fading, its light swallowed by the chaos around her. The orb flickered again, and she felt a wave of warmth, inviting yet agonizing. The shadows sensed her hesitation, their weight pressing heavier. What is it you truly cherish? Choose that, and this power will be yours. A wild emotion surged through Sarah, a fierce protectiveness for her friends battling against the gnawing doubt within her. What if their freedom cost her the very essence of her soul? But how could she let the darkness win? Threads of anger and fear tangled together as she closed her eyes. The memories of laughter, joy, and warmth flooded her, overwhelming her senses. No, I refuse to let you take anything from me, she screamed. The orb blazed to life, a solitary beacon in the chaos of storming shadows. The gaunt figure flailed in opposition, its laughter turning into a furious snarl. You think you can fight us, girl? This is our domain. You will pay. White-hot energy surged in her hands as the light from the orb enveloped her. I will save them. The conviction brightened her surroundings, pushing the shadows back like the dawn chasing away the night. The world around her crackled with power, trembling with the weight of her resolve. The screams and laughter of her friends melded into a singular voice that resonated deep within the cruelest of choices loomed before her. To save them, you must sacrifice what is dearest to you. They roared again, the dread clawing its way into her heart, stretching out thin the fabric of her will. Desperation clawed at her chest. What could she part with? What was too precious? It wasn't just her life she was gambling. It was her very spirit. The shadows circled like vultures, relentless, waiting for her to falter. But issue after issue pressed against her. It wasn't only about her friends' lives. It was about the fate she would carry, light or dark. She felt the orb's energy pulsate like a beating heart, fiercely demanding a choice. The fear of losing everything pressed against her ribcage as she opened her eyes to the swirling mist around her, tempting, taunting. I want to give up. She sensed a clawing truth inside her, a reckoning that threatened to unravel everything. But the shadows were hungry, fueled by her fear. With every ounce of strength, she held the orb tighter. Sarah, choose. The shadows twisted closer, eagerly anticipating her decision, and Sarah's heart raced wildly as possibilities danced before her eyes. Would she sacrifice her very soul, or could she find another way? And then, through the cacophony of chaos, she sensed something, a shadow among shadows, something lurking just on the edges of her perception. What secret did it hold? In that last moment before action, before choice, she would confront it. But what awaited her in the depths of obscurity? The pulse of darkness beckoned, alive with secrets. Do you dare? Whispered a voice, sharp and hungry. The question lingered heavily, hanging in the air like the weight of her decision. What would she claim from the darkness as her own? And what phantom would be unleashed in her quest for salvation? The shadows pulled tighter, their grip like iron bands around Sarah's heart. The decision loomed before her, heavy and daunting. She could feel the weight of every soul that had ever been trapped in these woods, each one watching, waiting, longing for a chance at redemption. The heartbeat of the orb pulsed with an urgency that matched her own racing thoughts. Choose, Sarah. The shadows hissed, circling her like a tempest. What cost will you pay? Freedom or despair? I want to save them. She screamed, rage and determination flaring within her. The light of the orb flickered brightly, but the darkness grew thicker, clawing at her consciousness. Just then, a vision struck her, a flash of laughter and warmth. Her friends, the joyful moments spent together, the promises of a future filled with adventure, and yet there was a chilling thought creeping through the edges of her heart. What if I can't save them? She whispered, tears burning her eyes. Embrace the darkness, the gaunt figure echoed, mocking her uncertainty. Or let your friends remain lost, forever intertwined with sorrow. Sarah felt a whirlwind of emotions battling inside her: fear, hope, anger, and an undeniable love for her friends. She could sense the power deep within her, growing with every heartbeat, and it began to weave a tapestry of resolve. I want to give in, she shouted defiantly. Then she remembered her mother's ethereal guidance, a reminder that love was the strongest force of all. I choose love, she roared, her voice echoing through the shadows. The orb blazed with a fierce light, illuminating the darkness swirling around her. If love is the way, then I'll fight for all of us. The shadows were momentarily stunned, their twisted forms recoiling as if struck. You are nothing but a spark against a tempest, they cried, voices rising in furious denial. But Sarah pressed forward, arms outstretched toward the orb. Maybe it's a spark, but it can ignite a blaze, she declared, every ounce of sentiment pouring into her declaration. The orb erupted in a brilliant surge of light, radiating warmth and brilliance like the sun breaking through the darkened sky. I will not let you consume me. The gaunt figure howled, its anger echoing through the forest like a creature in pain. You think you can defy your fate? But as the light blazed brighter, the figures began to tremble. She held on to the memories of laughter and warmth, pushing through the pain gripping her heart. I choose to fight for the souls lost in this darkness, she cried, the energy from the orb blazing forward, cutting through the shadows like a knife. They writhed and recoiled, their anger and despair clashing against her resolve. Just as she began to feel the tide turning, the gaunt figure lunged, its icy claws grasping at her throat, freezing her breath. You cannot escape this price, it screamed, desperation evident in its voice. Then let it be paid, she shouted back, feeling the pulse of the orb resonate with her heart, infusing her with renewed strength. I will sacrifice my fear, my doubt, anything you demand for them. In that moment, The orb flared even brighter, and a beam of pure light shot out, connecting with her friend's trapped souls. Shadows screamed, their anguished cries blending into a symphony of despair but also of liberation, as each twisted sound morphed into a cry of hope. The darkness began to recede, the tendrils of despair unwinding from around her. She felt the presence of her friends, their energies merging with the light, lifting them higher. "Sarah!" She heard them call, their voices ringing with clarity and warmth. "We're free." The gaunt figure struggled, twisting and contorting in defiance. "You will pay. You will pay." It screamed, its form unraveling into thin air as the light swelled in strength. "No," Sarah exclaimed, "I have already paid. With every piece of love and courage within me, I choose to light the way." She felt the darkness release its grip, and as the gaunt figure dissipated into nothingness, the shadows fled, swallowed by the dawn of a new day. With her heart racing and tears of joy streaming down her cheeks, Sarah took a deep breath. The woods around her shifted, the oppressive weight lifting as the sun began to rise in radiant hues of gold and orange. She collapsed to her knees, breathing heavily, but she felt the warmth of her friends surround her, their laughter rising like music through the air. "Sarah, you did it!" Lucas exclaimed, pulling her into an embrace. "You saved us. I thought we lost you." Emma added, her eyes bright with gratitude and relief. Overcome by emotion, Sarah could only nod, overwhelmed by the reality of what had just happened. "I couldn't have done it without all of you," she said, her voice thick with tears. "It was love is what brought us together through the darkness." Together, amidst the serene light of dawn, Sarah and her friends forged ahead, determined to share their story, a story that would remind others of the power of sacrifice and the unyielding strength of love. And with every step, she felt the whisper of the woods fade into memory, leaving behind the echoes of darkness that had once threatened to consume them. But as they walked together, the trees whispered not of despair, but of hope restored. You need to subscribe now to this channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will thrill you to the core. Smash that like button now. Your support means everything, and it helps feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this powerful conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel this surge of hope and courage today. This is the moment to show your support for the stories that connect us all.